Okay, I think we're getting there. Hello, hello, Chris. Hold on. Let me first situate my thing before I do this. Okay, I think I got it. Hi, Chris. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But let me just go ahead and do the quick return before I bring you in, Chris. So let me just push this little knob over here, turn this thing up, do the fun things. Okay. All right, for those of you listening to our podcast, welcome again. It is time for another Sandwich Corner. Let's do the thing. Here we go. All right, this is good. Okay. I think this is all sounding normal again. Good. Hey, everybody, how's it going? For those of you tuning in on our podcast and watching us on our YouTube feed, hello again. My name is Davey. You know me as Dave Batista as well. I don't normally do it that way, but sure, I go by both names. And obviously, you know me as Davey's Eating a Sandwich on all the platforms. Instagram, TikTok, you name it, I got it. Except for Threads and that thing that used to be called Twitter. But everything else, you can find me at that handle. So welcome again. We are here to chat some sports. Those of you who've been watching us on Twitch are actually technically in the same stream, but we are about to simulcast our podcast now. And to do so, we're going to bring in our good friend Chris in Georgia, who is a huge sports fan, but particularly a big fan of the NBA. And Chris, thank you for waiting all this time. It is good to have you back. The Boston Celtics are who we're going to talk about tonight. They just won their 18th championship, and the NBA Finals and the NBA season is concluded. We got more news for you too coming up on this program, in addition to the NBA Finals coverage. But first, let's bring in Chris, the huge fan of the victorious Boston Celtics. Chris, good to have you back. How's it going tonight?
Good, Dave. No worries. This all worked out. I'm good. Yeah, no worries about the timing. And thanks for having me. You look. Did you just go for a run or something?
No.
What's going on there?
Oh, I have had my window closed. I know this is embarrassing. Like I have. It's so hot in here. I can't escape the sweat. The sweat. I got like. Oh my gosh! Like everybody in the chat has noticed it. I'm so sorry. I've been trying because there's construction going on outside, so the dust is bad for my breathing. So I've just been kind of gutting it out. It's just one of my friends in chat says Sizzleman is in our chat says moist.
Yeah,
that's a good way to put it.
I was he's either hot or nervous, and I wasn't sure, so I went with hot. But...
Good answer. I mean, no, but really, it is fun to have you back. I do appreciate you being here. Let's go talk about some basketball. Like we've been following the series all month. Most of you, those of you watching on our Twitch simulcast, we don't normally simulcast this on Twitch, but normally we're over on YouTube. There's a special YouTube subsection called the Sandwich Corner where we cover things like sports and whatever else. And Chris and I have been covering the NBA playoffs the entire time. It has been really, really fun. I would say the NBA Finals not so fun. I have to be honest about it, but I'm sure it was really fun for those of you who are fans of the Celtics. And Celtics did a great job, Chris. I give them a lot of credit. What a great team this was. They won. They've completed their Finals victory with a 106-88 win against the Mavericks on Monday night. And big props to them. Like it's a team that has been like a lot of their core players have been together for a few years. Tatum and Brown in particular have been through almost the entirety of this era, going from Brad Stevens into their current regime, their current coach, who is also pretty good. Missoula's a pretty good coach too, and great fortune all around. So I'm just gonna give you the floor. There's not much for me to say. I mean, what a dominant effort, particularly on the defensive end. The Mavericks did absolutely nothing on offense. Like their offense was bad like throughout the series, and you got to give credit to Boston for that. Really good stuff.
So when we last talked, when we last left you, It was 3-0 Boston, right?
Right.
And Boston pulled out that win in Game 3, where I was nervous. My shirt was soaking wet too. I was so nervous. And the Celtics came back I mean, held them off. Game 4, however, was a completely different story, and the defense wasn't that great that game, and Dallas wiped the floor with with Boston. They won, they won easily. It was almost not watchable. And yeah, Boston blew their doors off, and most of the starters for both teams sat out the fourth quarter. It was that bad.
Yep.
I think what was the final score? Do you have it? Can you just scroll down? I can't remember. It was like
Wait
130
for.
to 85.
Oh, you mean the last game, the game 4?
No, the game 4 where
Game 4. Okay.
the one Mavs
Let
won.
me see if I can
I think it's
find
over there on the right.
122 to 84. There it is.
122 to 84.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won easily. And so coming out of that, I was a little nervous, because Porzingis didn't play. The Celtics didn't look great. You had Derek Lively, the sensational looking rookie for the Mavs, saying, "Yep, we figured Boston out." And those of us who've watched the Celtics the last few years kind of, didn't feel completely at ease at that point in time. And series goes back to Boston, and fortunately, Boston came up big in the final game. They won easily, and it was as you pointed out, it was really a strong defensive effort that held the Mavs to 73 points, I think, in that game. Do I have that right? In game 5?
88.
Oh, 106, 88. Okay, my bad. But anyway, so the 4 wins that Boston had, they held them under 100, and Boston only scored 84 in game 4, the one that they lost. But so yeah, you're right. It was a defensive effort. The Celtics, 1 through 5 can really, all those guys can guard, and they put pressure on the ball, and they don't. One of the things that they did that was, that really stopped Luka and the Mavs offense was they stayed in single coverage for the most part, except when Derek Jones Jr. was on the court, and they would kind of sag off him if he was standing out by the arc. They just did not respect his shot at all. But yeah, it was. You're right. It wasn't an exciting series. The games, for the most part, weren't close, except for game 3, I think. That was the closest one. Oh, well, game 2 and game 3 were pretty close, but game 1 was a blowout. Games 4 and 5 are both blowouts. So yeah, you're right. It wasn't that exciting. I thought the playoffs as a whole were entertaining. I was into it, even though we had a lot of series where it went kind of back and forth, and the games themselves weren't close, but the series managed. I was thinking specifically, I think the Dallas and Minnesota series, for example, there was a lot of back and forth in that one, but there were blowouts. But yeah, I mean, I'm very, very happy. I've been following these guys I've been a Celtics fan my whole life, but I've been following these guys specifically since they drafted Brown and Tatum in consecutive years. And I don't know what else to add. I mean, it's just, it feels like a culmination. It feels like they kind of, this team and the way this team was built, it goes back to, it was kind of built in parallel, if you think about it, with the Sixers and trust the process. And it kind of almost became its own trust the process for Celtics fans, because we've been waiting for Brown and Tatum to take this next step, and didn't lose hope. And so very grateful that they pulled it off and they won. Yeah, I'm looking at that shot that Peyton Pritchard hit at the half.
Boy, look at that.
From like 50 feet away.
Yeah. Yep.
It was crazy. And he came in right when Luka was shooting free throws.
Mhm.
Came in specifically for that, and Horford grabbed the rebound on that play, and then Pritchard drilled it from over half court, which was amazing. But yeah, no, it's just this is a culmination. The pieces just kind of came together. That man right there that is on the screen,
Oh,
Drew
Drew.
Holiday, was a
Yeah.
huge addition. I mean, you think about it, the Celtics won. I mean, they basically played without their starting center, and Al Horford, the veteran, the 30, I think he's 37 now, was playing major minutes.
Yep.
So, but fortunately, he played pretty well for the most part. He played, finally got his ring, and he was a, I think he was second in playoff games without winning a ring to Karl Malone. So there's a little nice little statistic for you. Karl Malone is the all-time leader in playoff appearances without a ring.
Yeah.
And Horford was second, and now he's no longer on that list. So
Yeah.
so I felt good for Al.
Oh
I
yeah.
really
I mean,
did.
Horford's has been had a great career, so I'm all about it. We do have a comment in chat from A2 the Ron who says, "Crazy that Derrick Jones Jr. hit so many threes against OKC, but was so cold against Boston."
Yeah, I mean the big thing in that was a lot of those were corner threes. I mean, the Celtics, like I said, did not they just did not leave those corners open. But there were occasions where Jones Jr. did have some pretty good looks from beyond the arc, above the break, and he didn't make those. I mean, and they did their homework. They saw the two big plays that Dallas was killing the T-Wolves with was lobs and those corner threes, and the Celtics really cut back on those. I think they shot. I think I saw a stat. They shot like the Mavericks said is shot like 16% from the corners in the entire series, which is crazy low. So yeah, they did their homework. They prepped really well for what Dallas had to offer offensively, and they got it done. You get those, it's the so-called gentleman's sweep, as they say, David, with the 5-game the 5-game series.
I think we're seeing more and more of that these days in modern sports. I really think that an actual sweep is impossible now. I feel like you almost get to the point where you feel like the refs and the league are trying to engineer the game so that doesn't happen. So at least you get one game.
And I also think, like, a team like Dallas, they have a lot of pride, and they're playing their last game at home.
Yeah.
And they went all out in that game, and they had the Celtics on their heels early. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no worries.
But yeah,
you're good there.
No. Yeah. But yeah, it was. I think they just, they had way too much pride to let that happen. So
yeah, I mean,
good on them.
Good on them. I mean, you figured. I mean, usually that used to, back in the day, that was the game 3 game. That was always the game 3. Game 3 was always a game where, like, oh, this is the team that has pride. They're at home for their big moment, etc. And then kind of went from there. But either way, it's a culmination of things for sure. I don't have anything to add to it at all. You summarized that perfectly. It's a big day for the Celtics organization. Their 18th title, which they were already winning the most championships, but that just makes it that much harder for anybody else to get. Particularly one team that can't get out of his own way to catch them right now. But obviously the Lakers have caught up quite a bit in the last 25 years, which is
totally.
Yeah. So it's been a very good century for LA, but the last couple of years not so much. But I'm not going to put the Lakers into this right now. Really,
wait, hold on, Dave. I mean, come on. They were in the playoffs. It's not like it's not like they're the Wizards right now.
Fair.
This
fair.
is not the Pistons.
No. It's not. It's not.
You got 2 all-time greats on your team. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little strong to say they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Stay.
Did you buy that?
Wait. What was that? Run that by me one more time. And stay safe, Jamie. Sorry about that. Jamie says,
yeah.
There's a storm. Oh, careful up there. But you were saying?
No, all I was saying was that you're being a little tough on the Lakers. They were a playoff team this year. They made the conference finals last year. It's not like, this is not the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely aren't that bad, but um, it did.
Maybe your standards are so high right now that
But they always are, right? Like, and I'm
yeah.
sure that's true of many big franchises in sports. So that's reasonable. I know. It's just, and I do think that it really wouldn't take that much for the Lakers to get back to championship level. Like, I really like they're one big player, maybe not one big player, but they're a few key pieces away from it. Really, And I did not want to. I really didn't want to make this about the Lakers in this situation. So, but for the purpose of this program, we got some big news this afternoon, which is going to put them in there whether we wanted them to be or not. And that's the Lakers' new coaching decision. They just hired JJ Redick to be their next coach. We just talked about that. You asked a question about it. I'm honestly, it's rather interesting. Like I don't think. It could be very good. I mean, Redick is obviously a very knowledgeable basketball commentator. You had been seeing him in First Take. You've been seeing him do his podcast, so he knows the stuff. Is that going to translate to coaching? I mean, I think this is. It could go. It could for me. It could go either way. A lot of people are putting it down, like, oh, he's got no experience, which is a fair thing to say. It's very fair to say, but I honestly don't know what to expect. I did say, I think I even wrote it to you in a text or something. Like, I don't know how much he can really do in that scenario right now, because there are a lot of veterans on that team, Chris. Like, I don't know how much control he's going to have over the team. There was mention, I think you may have mentioned it, like in our DM or in our Discord conversations, like, you mentioned that he could have he could influence personnel decisions, which would be very interesting if that played out. I'm not exactly sure how it will play out, but that's kind of my cursory take on it. I don't have an opinion. I mean, I think it's a decent call. It's not the worst idea ever. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, I think it could work. I don't know if this is necessarily going to be a great situation for JJ Redick, but if he's game for it, I think I'm game for it too. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I will say I think it's a bold hire.
Yeah,
I like it, because I like it if I'm a Laker fan, just because I think he's really intelligent and he just eats, sleeps basketball. This is a man who is constantly thinking about hoops. So he's obviously very intelligent. LeBron really likes him. You could tell they had a really good rapport when he had him on his podcast. So yeah, I think it's a fine hire. I selfishly don't like it just because I really liked what Redick brought to the ABC ESPN broadcasts as like an analyst. I really liked his podcast, and all that's gone now. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, and I did say that I think he's very intelligent and has good ideas about how to build a team, and so maybe there's also a silver lining there where he has Rob Pelinka's ear, and he kind of is that, like, sort of that connector between the front office and LeBron and AD and those guys. So he can assist with with personnel moves and be I think an intelligent addition to the front office. So I don't know. I'm excited to see how it goes. People bring up, oh well, he's never coached, but Kerr never coached before he took over the Warriors. He was in broadcasting, and there's some failures too. The Nash thing went horribly wrong in Brooklyn.
yeah.
But I mean, some of these guys, really take off. So I'm willing to give it a chance, and I think I'm in favor of this hiring for Los Angeles. So good job by them.
I think so. I mean, what do you got to lose? Like, you could hire another, has been coach that has already failed in other places and see how that goes, or you could try something new, and it seems like a decent idea. And if it doesn't work, at least it probably would have worked about. I mean, I think anything else you would have done at this point in time would have worked about the same. So that's the floor. It's a pretty high floor if you think about it. It's like what's the worst that could happen is probably what would have happened if you hired anybody else at this point of who was available. So other than Dan Hurley, which was the thing. I know we talked about that last week, but
yeah, I agree. I think, the key now is just get like really sound assistants to kind of help him. People who have done this maybe as a coach or as like a lead assistant, just to kind of get him to learn the ropes. But I think that's important. It's funny. I was listening to NBA radio on this afternoon after the hiring was announced, and a guy who claimed to be a Laker fan was sort of down on it, and brought up the fact that he doesn't have any coaching experience, and why didn't they take a look at guys who have, like Mark Jackson and Monty Williams, which I thought was pretty funny. But yeah, no, I think, the key is just get him like some capable assistants, get him a good bench, coach and all that. And I think he'll be fine.
I think so too. Yeah, I would. God, Mark Jackson would have been a disaster. Like I don't think that was ever a serious consideration, but that caller, I don't think so.
Can you believe that?
He would have, whoever that was would have hated it within a month. I promise.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, it's a sports radio caller. You never know.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that, Chris. I want to say hello to Ayu Miki. Welcome in. Good to see you again, my friend. And yeah, new desk hype. I'll show you some photos of that in just a little bit. But we're just on with my friend Chris in Georgia, who you are a friend of the before times, before the pandemic, before Twitch, before all the shenanigans. Like it was the two of us and a lot of our friends like chatting here on the podcast, which we're simulcasting tonight, on Spotify and Apple Music and wherever you can get podcasts. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say too. I mean, that's kind of a nice wrapper on the season. Like anything else you want to talk about from the NBA? I mean, the draft is coming up in just a couple days too, so feel free to.
Draft is coming up.
Yeah,
and we did have a major trade today. Did you hear about this, Dave?
Wait, I should check. Hey, E-Flat, what's going on? That E-Flat guy hasn't joined us. Can we give a shout out to that E-Flat guy in our chat? We're simulcasting on Twitch tonight. Usually, we're doing this program on YouTube, but it's nice to see E-Flat. E-Flat's a very good piano player and is streaming tonight, and it's great to see you, my friend. Can we? Yeah. So, Mods, let's give a shout to our friend E-Flat. So let me go look at this trade you mentioned.
Former Laker on the move to Oklahoma City today.
I think I saw the headline. I've just got to refresh my memory. Who it was? Oh no! I think it was like a LA Kings trade. That's what it was. That's why I was thinking about. I was looking at that, but the trade. I mean the JJ Redick news has drowned everything else in the NBA wire right now. So I have to go. I have to really look up this up.
Yeah, this was late afternoon. It was around 4:00. I'll just tell you.
Okay.
It was Alex Caruso, straight up, no picks, to Oklahoma City for Josh Giddey. And yeah, I love it for Oklahoma City.
I love it for Oklahoma City too. I mean, Giddey was all right, but I mean, here's a problem with that trade. Caruso has a long history of injuries.
Yeah, he does get hurt a bit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's the big problem. If he did stay healthy the entire season, it's a big old slam dunk for Oklahoma City. The problem is that there really isn't any precedent for that, and it's a bummer because like he's a great player. Like he's a really hard. He's always out there giving everything every game. So we'll see. I hope it works out though.
So here's the thing, and this is something I was unaware of. I'm looking at his transactions page. This is for Caruso. September 2016, signed a contract with Oklahoma City Thunder. I do not remember this.
I don't either. Wow.
He was with Oklahoma City for less than a month before signing with the Lakers in 2017. It's really surprising, isn't it? I do not recall that at all. But anyway, so he's back with the team that signed him originally.
He's back.
And
we barely saw him.
Giddey on the move. Giddey was, he kind of fell out of favor in Oklahoma City, and he found himself relegated to the bench in the Dallas series. He didn't play all that much. So it seems like I still love it for Oklahoma City just because it gives them another defensive guard along with Lou Dort. And so I think it's a strong play. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we should do you want to do a draft show? I mean, you into that or no?
We can circle around to it. I mean, it could be like part of another, part of a, like it can be like one part of a 2-part show. You know what I mean? Like, with the same podcast, but we'll do like 2 segments, and this will be one of the segments. So we could definitely do that. Or maybe
speaking of 2 segments, this year they're doing the draft over 2 nights. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Oh, I didn't know that. They
split it up.
They only have a couple. They don't have as many rounds as the NFL though, so it's not like
they only have 2 rounds. So
yeah,
it's like they have round 2 on the second night.
Is round 2 going to be like 30 minutes?
I mean, generally it goes pretty quick.
Yeah.
Go flying off the board. So
good on them if they want to. If they want to add an extra night, I don't know if I'm going to watch though. Yeah,
well, I will, but
that's fair. That's fair.
I have problems. Dave.
That's fair. So we had some great comments in our Twitch chat. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, by the way. AU says, "What? People can have friends before COVID, not just be workaholics."
That's funny.
That's great. And that EFAT guy says, "I'm old enough to remember the rumors that Coach K was going to leave Duke and coach the Lakers. Now one of his most famous players is going to coach LeBron and the Lakers. How about that? True story."
Yeah, I didn't even think about that angle. Yeah, I mean there were always K rumors floating around there. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. E-Flat on the 2-day draft, probably just to get another day of buzz and TV ratings. Yeah. Taking the page from the NFL too, I would say E-Flat. So I'm with you on that one. Yeah.
It's just different though, because the NFL, how do they do it, Dave? They do round 1 on the first night and then rounds 2 and 3 on the second day, and then the rest of the draft on the third. Is that how they break it up?
Something like that. And yeah, so like with each day it gets relegated a little bit more to like a lesser known channel. Like it starts on ESPN, and like the next day it's ESPN2, and then the next day it's like NFL Network.
Oh yeah.
The ESPN the app. I don't know. I'm exaggerating, but people get into it though.
Day 4 is Audio Roadshow.
Audio Roadshow. Yeah. I love it. But I mean, I think sometimes you do get some really good draft classes that do get like genuinely great buzz. The year we had Wembanyama in the draft at the top was a big year. I don't think we have quite that much star power this time, but I'm sure there's still some value in there.
There'll be good picks, I think, but everything I've heard is like you take a normal draft and you cut out like the first 8 players drafted, and that's what this draft is.
Yeah.
It's not like you don't have like that real clearly defined talent at the top.
Right.
And,
right.
But if you're a team that, needs to fill in around the edges, there are players who can help you in this draft. That's my understanding. So I'm still on board. I don't follow it until like right before it happens. So I don't have a clear vision of how it's going to go, but I do look at the mocks occasionally, and I'll be locked in and I'll be into it. So
cool. Yeah, I mean, and hopefully it'll be a productive draft for a lot of the teams in the league. So really, let me go recap myself. Hold on. Let me see if I can figure this out. If I can look this up. Go back over here for a second. We looked at the NBA draft lottery, and the Thunder. Wait, hold on. Looking at it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they distributed the balls a little differently this year. Atlanta ended up getting the first pick in the draft out of all that, and Washington second, and Houston third. So, an interesting scenario. I think we've all known that Atlanta and Washington in particular have really been floundering with their decisions lately. The question I have is like, because Washington does some pretty serious overhauls of the coaching staff and possibly the front office too. Do you think that the Wizards could be using this as an opportunity to finally start to build their way back? I don't know. I mean, I can't really speak to Atlanta either. I haven't really caught up with them lately, but what's your thought there?
So Atlanta like leapfrogged about 8 teams to get to that number one pick. It was like a real surprise that they actually
Yeah,
ended
definitely.
up in that spot.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. There's a lot of rumors now that it's Donovan. They really like Donovan Mitchell,
I'm
and
sorry.
no, it's fine. I
I
mean,
wasn't laughing at that actually.
yeah,
Keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, you're good. And so that's been the heavy rumor. The Connecticut Center is a favorite of the Hawks Brain Trust. The Wizards, what are they going to do? Are they tearing it down? I think they pretty definitively did, or at least started that last year when they traded Porzingis to Boston.
Right.
Um, I don't know. I don't have a good feel for the Wizards these days. I think they're they're kind of a rudderless organization, but we'll
Yeah.
see. And the Pistons, of course, get screwed and they fall out of the
Boy, how
top
about
four,
that? That,
Yeah, and that
but
happened last year, if I remember correctly, too. They
it's
fell out of the
that's
lottery.
why you can't tank anymore in the NBA
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it guarantees. And I love that. I love that the NBA has restructured the draft lottery so you can't just force your way into the top one or two pick of the draft. It's a good thing. Like you can't
I
completely give.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also I think the tanking thing gets a little overrated when you look at the the blueprint for tanking was the 76ers in the last 15 years. And when you think about it, all they really have to show for it now is Embiid. After all those years of like just not even trying to win and fielding like a poor team, they have Joel Embiid, and that's really it. I mean, Simmons is gone. I mean, all these guys, Nerlens Noel, all these guys they drafted, and don't forget they traded Drew Holiday. That was part of the their tanking scenario where they got rid of players who were like actually pretty good, so that they could play worse. Um, so I don't know. I mean, like the 76ers are a textbook case of how not to tank, but
Yep.
it's also a good example of you could tank for many years and really not. I mean, end up with good players, but not end up with a anything close to a championship. I mean, Embiid's. I don't think he's ever been out of the second round. So
Well, that's rough. Yeah, all that effort and it doesn't really amount to much for them. Well said, Chris. I mean, that's pretty much gonna set us up for the next week or so. So just roll that out. Maybe even throw in some random questions. Like that'd be kind of fun to do. So let's earmark that. Let's earmark that. Couple comments in the chat. These are great. Evad made me laugh with this comment. Washington is so starved for winning they can't even win the draft lottery.
I like it.
I love that. Yeah. That's what I was laughing at earlier. And then Efat's question. Finish the statement. No right answer. Just curious about opinions. Wembanyama had the best rookie season since.
Oh, is that a question?
Yeah. So who would you say
Oh my gosh, I don't
Wembanyama's
know.
had the best rookie season since?
I mean, LeBron. I don't know. I'd have to compare stats. I mean, people were going back as far as Lou Alcindor.
Wow, really?
Um,
That good?
yeah,
That's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's going back,
Yeah.
over a generation.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't. I would start with LeBron. I mean, what was that? 2003 was the draft, so that was uh 21 years ago. Wow,
Yeah.
is that right? Seem right.
Well, let's see.
I think it's
We
right because
pretty
he's like
close. Yeah, I
39
think that's
now,
it. Yep.
40.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of
it's a good
a
one though.
better player rookie year than LeBron. I don't know. And
I mean,
he might actually have been
it
better as a rookie.
he had a very good rookie year, absolutely. And
Yeah.
Wembanyama being up there with him, yeah, I would say so. He was great. He had a great year.
And they're going to be a fun team to watch in the
Yeah.
offseason because I think that they've got to, they got to be aggressive now. They got to make some moves. So
Yeah.
fill in
I,
around around Wemby and get a point guard for a change. That'll be
mhm.
nice.
Yeah.
So
I love it a lot. I love it a lot. Really cool. I think that's about all I have for NBA. I guess I'll just show you the new desk I have. I got a new desk for my brother-in-law who it's basically my brother-in-law got a desk and doesn't need it anymore, so he gave it to me. And then I brought it in and I assembled it. So let me show it to you really quickly, Chris, just to give you an idea.
okay.
Here it is. And it's much wider than the desk I had before. And there were some challenges with it though because I had to the mounting things on the side of the desk is harder because it's not as much of a lip on the outer edge. The best you see how the legs kind of come in really close to the edge of the. It's hard to describe this, but you only have like about an inch, maybe an inch of surface area to grab onto for any of these arms. So I had a little bit of a tough time getting either of these boom art mics going, but the overall construction is a big old win. Like I feel like there's so much more room in here now, as a result of this desk. It's kind of neat to have everything spaced out. I can eat on the desk. I can do work on the desk. It's great. It's really cool.
Wow, that's some setup you have, Dave. I'm really impressed.
Thank you, thank you.
Is
Yeah.
that something that's kind of built up over like years or
Oh,
did you?
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
nice.
Like the oldest piece of equipment. I would have said it's the microphone, but I replaced it. Actually, this is a second. This Shure SM7B is my second one. The original one was bought in 2015. So today, the oldest piece of equipment in the chain is the mic preamp, which is pictured on the left side on the table, right next to certain trinkets. I'm not going to mention names of because I don't want to invoke them. But
Nice.
Ayu, by the way, Ayu, thank you so much for your 3 stream streak earlier. I appreciate that so much. And then and I guess I guess I have upgraded a lot of things over time. Oh, I actually, you know what? Technically, no, I'm incorrect. The older boom mic on the left. You see the arm on the left with the Rode microphone. Like it looks like a
Yep.
lamp, but it's actually a microphone. But
Mhm.
that is the oldest piece of equipment in the chain because I bought that way back in like 2000, like 10 or 11 for the podcast. So it was, yeah. I mean, a lot of pieces in this chain have been built up over time, and even as we started doing the sandwich show on Twitch, like there were things that were upgraded even in that time. Like the mixer was upgraded after a year of streaming. Same thing with the stream deck, which you see on the corner on the right, and then the boom arm I have today, the newer one from Rode on the right. That was replaced. That was bought like about a year ago. So it's kind of neat to see it all kind of come together, you know? Yeah. Oh, hey, Green Guy.
Definitely.
Good to see you. Welcome in. Can you give a shout to Green Guy Music? It's good to see you, my friend. E-Flat says, Davey, I might be asking you about your monitor setup, thinking about stacking up another monitor at some point like you. Oh, yeah, definitely. I bought that on Amazon. I'll tell you more about that in a minute, but yeah, but thank you, Chris. Like, I do appreciate your kind words on that. Like, it feels good to have like this.
Very professional looking, Dave. Very professional.
Well, thank you. I don't do great with cable management, but with that said, I think we did a pretty good job here. So I'm very happy with it. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a pretty cool setup. So let me just give it to you for final thoughts as far as the NBA and podcasty thing is. Anything else you want to get into before we go tonight?
No, I'm just sitting on cloud nine right now. I'm just very
Oh,
happy, very relaxed. and enjoying this. And tomorrow's the parade in Boston,
Nice.
duck boats, all that stuff. And then we'll be talking draft soon.
I
We're
love
down to
it.
the draft, and then summer league, and I'm seriously considering going this year.
I
So I
hope you
don't know if
do.
you're up for it.
And if you do, please let me know, because I also have been meaning to go to summer league. I keep finding excuses not to. This year, I feel like is the year I make a change and do it. It looks like so much fun.
And it
So,
looks like it would be a good year because there's not
mhm.
like a Wembanyama like there was last year that's going to draw people from
Yeah,
all over the world. Like I don't think there's a comparable talent. So it,
right.
it might be really, really easy to get tickets and get into the venues and all that. So
I hear it.
so I'm giving it serious consideration.
Cool, cool. I love it. Well, Chris, this has been great. Thank you again for doing this. Like, it's always fun to chat with you about NBA in particular, and also baseball. Well, we don't really do that on the stream so much, but always great chatting with you. However I can about whatever we can. Thank you so much for doing this again, and Chris, and I'll send you my best to you and yours, and hopefully we'll tech pretty soon. Like you said, we can do some NBA draft stuff later. So for sure, I'll get back to you about that too.
Sounds good. The pleasure is all mine, Dave. Thanks for having me on. I
Absolutely,
appreciate it.
Chris. You bet. Have a
This
good
was
rest.
fun getting together again with you about this stuff.
For sure. And big time kudos to your boys. Like, you love that team so much. Like, I think like you and Andy probably love them the most out of anybody I know. Like, you all are dedicated. So big time. I'm happy on your behalf. And I'm like we talked about this already. Like, it's not easy when your arch rival team wins, but if it's a good friends team winning, I'm honestly always happy for your happiness, if that makes any sense. So, and it's a good, I'm happy. You deserve that because like you have been so loyal and dedicated, even in the lean years, or even or things when things are bad. Like you deserve moments like this, Chris. Like I'm glad for you in that regard.
Well, that's very nice of you to say. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Well, I mean, what's the temperature like where you are right now? Like, is it getting really hot now?
Oh, Atlanta? Yeah, it's been hot here for over a month. It's
Yeah,
been really hot.
it's that time
Yeah,
of
no,
year.
it gets crazy hot here.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
stay.
it's miserable out. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, stay cool as best you can, and
Same to you.
thank you. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you. Take care, Dave.
You
Bye.
bet. Okay, take care, Chris. All right, that's Chris in Georgia. And that'll do it for a sandwich corner tonight. Those of you on listening on the podcast players and watching on YouTube, it's been a blast. Thank you so much for hanging out with us again. Next week we should we'll try to come back with you over on our regular YouTube feed. Those of you watching our simulcast over on Twitch, we're gonna keep the Twitch stream going, and then we'll be right back in just a second. And I'll catch up on chat and everything else. Thank you so much for the clap, Screen Guy music. Oh, and A2 had a comment. People were saying that this year's number one pick would have gone 7 or 8 last year. I believe that, by the way. That has been a topic of conversation. The draft class is just not on the same level compared to past years, so I'm totally with that. But with that, podcast listeners, we say goodnight, and we'll see you next time.